In this video, we're going to talk about how to add fractions and subtract fractions that have different denominators. But first, we have to practice rewriting fractions in a way that allows us to change what that denominator is. So first, we'll practice writing the same fraction in different ways by multiplying or dividing the numerator and denominator by any number. And I did a little bit of this in the last video, but this first example has us rewriting 1/2. Now, I want you to think about this and not overthink it. 1/2 can be represented like this, half of a pie. So if I were to color in half of this pie, that would represent 1/2. It's 1/2 of a whole. Now we can rewrite 1/2 with a different denominator if we just consider more slices. So this is the same size pie. I'm still going to shade the same quantity. Yet, do you see how in this pie, I have 4 slices out of 8 total, and in this pie, I just have 1 out of 2 total? Well, it's the same idea. See, we just multiplied this by 4 and this by 4 to get 4/8. And now we have a fraction that is equivalent to 1/2, but it has a different denominator. That's going to be an important thing for us to be able to do when we add and subtract fractions with different denominators. Let's rewrite 4/7. Now there really are an infinite number of ways you can do this, but I'm just going to rewrite it in one way. So I'll multiply this by 2 and multiply this by 2, top and bottom, both by the same number. And remember, it has to be the same number. One way you can think of this is, really we're just multiplying this fraction by 1, and whenever you multiply something by 1, it just becomes itself. So anything over itself is 1, and we're multiplying 4/7 by 2/2. So really it's the same quantity, but the denominator is different. 8/14. That's another way to write this. Let's rewrite 18/24. 18/24. Well, you can divide the numerator by 3, and you can also divide the denominator by 3, and then you get 6/8. And that's also equivalent to this fraction over here, 18/24. We can reduce this again, or we could have rewritten this differently. We can also rewrite 18/24, just to point this out, as if we divide numerator denominator by 6, we can rewrite it as 3/4. And 3/4 is really the simplest form of this fraction right here. But really, okay, all we did was we took a pie that had 24 slices in it total, and 18 slices out of 24 slices, and then made it a pie with 6 slices out of 8 slices. Or we could have made it a pie with 3 slices out of 4 slices total. But that's the idea. We're changing the denominator. Doing this allows us to change the denominator of a fraction, making it possible to now do a problem where we are adding and subtracting fractions with different denominators. Okay, so guys, the key is to rewrite fractions so that they have the same denominator. We call that a common denominator. So let's look at these fractions right here and figure out how to do this. 1/2 plus 1/6. Well, we're going to have to scale this one up and change this denominator to be a 6 because we can't make this smaller. because if we do that, then 1 becomes less than 1. So I'm going to have to make this fraction have a denominator of 6 so that I can add them together, so that they have the same denominator. So 1/2, how can I make it have a denominator of 6? Well, what can I multiply 2 by to get 6? I can multiply 2 by 3. That will give me 6. And whatever I multiply the denominator by, I have to multiply the numerator by, because I'm really not changing the quantity. I'm just rewriting the denominator. So now we've rewritten this 1/2 as 3/6. Now we can add the fractions. And we don't want to forget to always reduce. 4 can be divided by 2. 6 can be divided by 2 as well. How about this one? 1/2 plus 1/3. Well, you definitely you can't just multiply 2 by something to get 3, and you can't multiply 3 by something to get 2. So maybe we can multiply 2 by something to get a number, and then multiply 3 by something else to get that same number. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to multiply, and let me switch colors here, 1/2 by 3/3. That'll give us 3/6. Then we're going to multiply 1/3 by 2/2. And watch, just bear with me here. Watch what I'm doing. And then that's going to be 2/6. You see what I did there? That was a totally legal move. I just multiplied it by the same number over itself. That 3/6 is equal to 1/2. And 2/6 is equal to 1/3. But now, actually, let me highlight this. That 1/2 becomes the 3/6, sixths, and then the 1/3 becomes the 2/6. So what I'm trying to say here and illustrate is the fact that we can now add these fractions, 3/6 plus 2/6, just by rewriting the fractions. Oops, I wrote 3/3, my bad. Five, six. Easy for me to say. All right, 3/4 plus 5/8. How can we get these fractions to have the same denominator? Well, it's kind of like a puzzle. Can you multiply 4 by something to get 8? Yes, you can. So then we'll just multiply 4 by that something and 3 by that something and change this fraction up. We'll go 3/4 times what? 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. Just rewrote 3/4 as 6/8. Totally legal. Plus our 5/8. Now, can we add the fractions? Yes, because we have a common denominator. 11/8. And I'm tired of yellow or orange. 4/5 plus 5/6. Again, we have different denominators, but we're going to have to operate on both fractions to get them to have a common denominator. This one might be a little tricky for those of you who are new to this, but let me just, you can pause it and see if you can figure it out yourself before I do it. Assuming you've given it a try, 4/5 plus 5/6, we are going to multiply 4/5 by 6 over 6. And really what you want to do is get the smallest common denominator you can. I mean, you could get a ginormous one, but then it would just make it more difficult and you would have to reduce at the end anyway. So 5 times 6 is 30. So we rewrote 4/5 as 24 over 30 by multiplying it by 6 over 6. Now, can we rewrite this thing with a denominator of 30? Of course. So let's do that. 5/6 times 5 over 5, because you know 6 times 5 is 30, equals 25 over 30. Now we have two fractions that have the same denominator, and therefore we can add them together. 24 over 30 plus 25 over 30. Do you see how 4/5 is equal to 24 over 30 and 5/6 is equal to 25 over 30? The denominators are the same now though, so we can add them. So that would be 49 over 30. And that's our answer. Okay, let's try another one. 7/8 minus 3/4. What can we scale up? And I encourage you to pause and try on your own. We'll scale up the 3/4. So we got 7/8 because we can multiply 4 by something to get 8. So we will multiply that by what? 2. So then we'll multiply the numerator by 2 as well. 6 over 8. And now, can't we subtract? Yes, because the denominators are the same. 7 minus 6 is 1, giving us 1/8. Last one, 4/5 minus 5/6. This will be interesting. You should know that it's going to turn out negative, but again, we have the same type of situation. So really what we're going to do is we are going to multiply both by a number to get that same common denominator. Now, these fractions are the same as they were up here, so I'm just going to use that least common denominator of 30. I'm going to rewrite 4/5 as 24 over 30. Just because I already figured that out up here. Minus, what, 25 over 30. Why? Because 5/6 is the same as 25 over 30. And 24 minus 25 is going to give us -1, and our denominator is 30. So that's interesting, isn't it? A fraction is going to be just negative 1/30 negative, and we're done.